From this restaurant, whose owner's horrible personality led it straight to its doom,
Everything's fucking coming back. What are you seeing here fucking keep cooking for nothing? It's a disaster.
to this restaurant, whose owner's oblivious attitude caused its destruction,
You cannot see a problem in your own establishment.
No.
here's what happened to every Season 3 Kitchen Nightmares restaurant, starting with Hot Potato Cafe was a potato-themed BYOB restaurant in Philadelphia's Fishtown neighborhood, run by three sisters. The restaurant was struggling badly. A scathing review from a food critic had devastated the reputation and driven customers away. When Gordon Ramsay arrived, the restaurant was a disaster, but the real shock came when he tasted the food.
God, they taste dreadful. When were they baked?
Probably about 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago.
Ramsay's solution was straightforward. He revamped the menu to move beyond the potato theme, updated the dining room decor, and attempted to build the restaurant's reputation from the ground up. The episode ended with a sense of cautious optimism.
This is so amazing.
I can't even describe it, like what's happening between all of us.
The three sisters seemed energized by Ramsay's changes, and the head chef, Danielle, a crucial figure in the kitchen, appeared committed to executing the new menu to the standards Ramsay demanded.
This is a career that I want.
Great family, great restaurant.
But momentum in television and momentum in real business are two different things. What happened after the camera stopped rolling tells a very different story. Head chef Danielle, the person most responsible for keeping Ramsay's vision alive, left the restaurant shortly after the episode aired. The exact reason for her departure is unknown, but without Danielle's leadership and commitment, the kitchen immediately began reverting to old habits and shortcuts. This included returning to a bloated menu, allowing the training Ramsay had conducted to dissipate, and letting the quality plummet back to the poor standards that had plagued the restaurant before his arrival. By June 2010, just 6 months after the episode had aired, the three sisters accepted the reality. They listed Hot Potato Cafe for sale on Craigslist, requesting $175,000 for the business. That price revealed just how desperate they were at that moment. No serious buyer emerged, and when the lease expired later that year, Hot Potato Cafe officially closed down in August 2010, roughly 8 months after the show aired. Danielle Keller, former head chef of Hot Potato Cafe, had a more positive outcome. Rather than cycling through restaurants or trying to salvage her career in food service, she made a conscious break from the industry. She became a renowned nurse and secured stable employment with Thomas Jefferson University Hospital in Philadelphia. The three sisters largely disappeared from public view after the closure. Their moment on national television, meant to be their salvation, had instead documented their business's final chapter. While Hot Potato Cafe's collapse was precipitated by the departure of their head chef Danielle, a loss the three sisters couldn't overcome, the same can't be said for the next restaurant's owners, who would face an obstacle of their own making. Flamingos was a Hawaiian-themed restaurant in White House Station, New Jersey, owned by Adele and her husband Bill, and their daughter Cheryl. The restaurant's decorations were aggressively cheap, tropical decorations, island imagery, and a signature decorative alligator that embodied the over-the-top aesthetic Cheryl had created. As soon as Ramsay arrived, he identified the issue without hesitation.
Wow, wow. Wow. It's like a zoo in here. Who designed it?
My daughter decorated it.
How drunk was she when she put the final sketches together?
The restaurant was trapped in a dated, gimmicky identity that no longer appealed to modern diners. Adele, however, was notoriously resistant to change. She had built Flamingos in her vision and saw absolutely nothing wrong with it, despite the evidence of declining business staring her in the face.
We do like the tropics. I don't see anything wrong in bringing tropical to White House Station.
Ramsay made dramatic changes anyway. He scrapped the tropical decorations, simplified the menu, and even burned the restaurant's signature decorative alligator in a symbolic gesture of transformation. He renamed the restaurant The Junction, erasing Flamingo's island identity in exchange for something more contemporary and marketable. Adele had a bad reaction to every single change Ramsay had made, from her reaction about the name,
I'm not happy about the name.
Come in.
to her reaction about the decorations.
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
I hate blue.
Unbelievable.
This is a very drastic change, and I really don't like it.
To even her reaction about the food.
Adele, how's the salmon, darling?
Oh,
Adele's resistance to Ramsay's changes during filming suggested the intervention would be short-lived, but there was reason for hope. When Ramsey returned for a season 4 revisit that aired on February 11th, 2011, the news was encouraging.
But for me, the good news is Adele has embraced changes, and it looks like the Junction is back on track big time.
The Junction appeared to be doing well, but that moment was deceptively brief. The Junction closed on April 2011, approximately 14 months after the original episode aired, and about 2 months after Ramsey's positive revisit. It was speculated that the owners closed the restaurant because they wanted to retire, rather than due to business failure. Post-closure, Adele and Bill made a deliberate choice to step away from the restaurant industry altogether. They retired and relocated to Port Charlotte, Florida, leaving behind the stress and uncertainty of the food service industry. Adele stepped into the public sphere with an explanation and an accusation. She publicly blamed the producers of Kitchen Nightmares, claiming that they overbooked reservations to overwhelm the staff, got customers to complain, put the team up to bugging Adele till she looked petty, just to hype up the show and make them look bad. She suggested that the intervention itself, the way it was conducted and documented, had actually destabilized the business rather than saved it. Their daughter, Cheryl, charted a different professional course. Rather than being tied to the restaurant world, she moved into interior design and sales, using her exposure to restaurant design and renovations without operational pressure and financial risks. Their challenges involved more than key staff leaving or failed changes. The owner refused to cooperate because she saw producer guidance as manipulation, resulting in a business that appeared successful on television but ultimately couldn't sustain itself in reality. Unlike Adele's resistance at Flamingos, the next restaurant's owner had completely stopped caring. Bazini was an American-Italian bistro in Ridgewood, New Jersey, owned by chef Paul Bazini. The restaurant was being financed by Paul's wife, Leslie Bazini, who believed that owning a restaurant had definitely beaten Paul down. The restaurant's problem wasn't poor management or bad decisions. It was a lack of passion. Paul had lost his drive. He no longer cared about the food he was producing. When Ramsey tasted the dishes, he was utterly disappointed.
Cold. Really bland. Okay. That's not normal for a chicken to be so fucking hard. That's the mess.
The restaurant wasn't executing at any level of excellence. The restaurant was also closed at lunchtime, missing out on an entire revenue stream without any logical reason. Ramsey's evaluation was brutal but accurate.
It's not normal for a guy that's been cooking for 20 years plus with no feel or passion, as if it's just going over your head. Whether you like it or not, you have given up.
The only bright spot that Ramsey identified was pastry chef Sharon's dessert, which showed that at least someone in the restaurant cared about quality.
First of all, that is delicious.
Awesome.
Whose recipe is that?
Mine.
Can I have it?
No, for a price. Everything for a price.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
Ramsey attempted to reignite Paul's passion and streamline operations, but you cannot force someone to care about their work through a television intervention. After the episode aired, Bazini struggled badly. The improvements Ramsey had made were just temporary fixes to a deeper problem. Paul's lack of passion couldn't be cured by a week of intensive training. Pastry chef Sharon, the only bright spot in the operation, made a significant decision. She recognized that she had the talent, and staying in a failing restaurant under an unmotivated owner would only waste her potential. She left to start her own baked goods company, taking her skills and ambitions elsewhere. Without Sharon's contributions and without Paul's renewed commitment to excellence, Bazini deteriorated rapidly. The restaurant closed very shortly after the episode aired, shutting down sooner than most of the Season 3 restaurants. The implosion was so swift that when Ramsey attempted to revisit the restaurant as part of the Season 4 Revisited episode, he arrived to find the place completely dark and empty. The owners told media outlets that they had experienced very little actual interaction with Ramsey off-camera during filming. They felt that the producers had manufactured drama and that the television narrative didn't reflect their actual situation. Whether this was true or a defense mechanism for failure, their complaint aligned with a growing pattern of owners questioning the show's authenticity. Paul Bazini did not abandon the food business entirely, but he did make a significant career adjustment. He's currently a chef at Hearth & Tap Co., Montvale, New Jersey, a position where he could focus on food quality and kitchen management under someone else's business structure. Sharon's departure proved more consequential than anyone anticipated. She went on to build a successful baked goods business, proving that her talent was genuine and her instinct to leave Bazini was correct. The previous restaurant owner had simply withdrawn from the work itself, but unlike them, this next restaurant wouldn't even have the luxury of choice. Despite being named Sushi Co, it was a Greek restaurant owned by a Japanese couple, Akira and Lisa Hatay, and they had very little to do with sushi. The disconnect between the restaurant's name and its actual cuisine was a symbol of a business in complete disarray.
Sushi pizza was a fucking joke.
Right. Okay.
Hideous, disgusting, and an insult to Japanese culture.
Ramsay came to a painful realization about how they store their food, which only added to the long list of the restaurant's issues.
Well, sometimes they make a mistake,
Why
but
are
we
you
don't put
lying?
it back. I'm not lying to you.
Akira, you could kill somebody.
The restaurant had been open approximately 4 years and was losing money relentlessly. The owners were also at the brink of divorce, leaving their daughter Hannah caught emotionally in the middle of the marital breakdown.
He never smiles anymore, yeah. So sad. Yeah, it's so sad.
Dad's just kind of away from everybody, I think.
He's not like a part of the family, really. It's just always just me and the kids, and he's just, because he doesn't know what to do. He's
lost. I miss, like, when he was just smiling when I walked in the door.
Yeah.
Ramsay addressed the food quality, updated the decor and made it a lot more radiant, and worked towards the reconciliation of a family dynamic. He was trying to give the business and the family a path forward simultaneously. Here's where Sushi Co's story takes a remarkable and unusual turn. The restaurant had already closed in August 2009, before the episode even aired on television in May 2010. Viewers watched an episode documenting a restaurant that no longer existed, a surreal experience of witnessing intervention for a business that was already dead. Akira posted on his blog explaining the closure with brutal honesty. He stated that business had gotten much worse after filming, and that the restaurant was unable to survive the 2008 to 2009 Great Recession. The business had gone so deep into the ground that it couldn't survive the worst economic conditions in decades. Although uncommon in the Kitchen Nightmares franchise, Sushi Co was not alone. 5 other restaurants, such as Love Bites from Season 8, experienced the same fate. The location has cycled through several tenants over the years and was leased by a California Pizza Chicken franchise as of 2023. Akira left the restaurant industry entirely and moved into import and export. The couple is still believed to be together, having weathered both the restaurant's failure and the marital crisis it represented. But not every failing restaurant fell victim to the global economic downturn. Some were progressing, yet personal conflicts were slowly destroying the owners from within. Mojito Cuban Cuisine was a Cuban restaurant in Brooklyn owned by 2 people who shared a painful history. Catalina and Marcelo were former romantic partners whose relationship ended bitterly. The breakup, however, had not ended their business partnership. They were still locked together as co-owners, and their personal animosity was poisoning every aspect of the restaurant's operations.
Get it together, Marcelo! Control!
Listen, I try to control everything. I try to control everything.
Take a spoon
I'm gonna
and you
taste, I'm gonna
everything.
taste.
No,
Listen.
they're salty. Throw them out.
Immediately, Ramsay recognized that no menu revision or kitchen overhaul would matter if the 2 owners couldn't work together.
Now do me one more favor. Fuck off out together through the door. See if you can just manage walking out together.
His intervention focused not just on food and operations, but on pushing Catalina and Marcelo to establish a professional working relationship, regardless of their personal feelings towards each other. The immediate results were remarkable.
To continue. You are the half of that.
I'm gonna do everything that it takes to make it work.
You guys work well together.
After the episode aired, business at Mojito increased by over 25%. The publicity, combined with the operational improvements Ramsay had implemented, created genuine momentum. When Ramsay returned for a Season 4 revisit, he found that the improvements had held.
Honestly, they managed to turn around a dying business in the middle of the recession. They're out of debt, and they've managed to move on from the past. Right now, the future for Mojitos looks very, very bright indeed.
The restaurant was still growing at a higher standard, and the business continued to grow. It appeared that Mojito might actually become one of Season 3's success stories, proof that a relationship destroyed by romance could be salvaged in a professional context. But the situation was more complicated than it seemed. While Catalina and Marcelo had managed to establish a functional working relationship for the cameras and for the immediate post-episode period, their personal relationship never truly recovered. Yet somehow, Mojito survived far longer than most Season 3 restaurants. The restaurant continued to run for over 6 years after the original episode aired, a remarkable run given the toxic personal dynamic underlying the business. The closure finally came on March 2nd, 2016, after 13 years in business and 6 years post-Kitchen Nightmares. Catalina and Marcelo announced the closure on Facebook. There was no mention of the personal conflict that had defined their partnership or an explanation of why they decided to close. It was a clean, quiet exit from a business that never gave them peace. Catalina's story after Mojito proved way more successful than the restaurant itself. She appeared on multiple cooking competition shows, Chopped, where she competed against other chefs, Cutthroat Kitchen, where she faced off high-pressure culinary challenges, and Chef Wanted with Anne Burrell, where she was evaluated by a celebrated chef. Whether by design or circumstances, she had found a path forward that didn't require her to share operational control with Marcelo. Marcelo remarried and relocated to Chile, distancing himself from the very place that once caused him so much heartache. The previous Mojito location in Brooklyn was later occupied by a bakery and cafe called Le Petit Monstre, which found success in the same neighborhood where Mojito had struggled, then thrived, and finally closed. Mojito may have survived for 6 years while drowning in bitterness, but the next restaurant would prove that accepting accountability could do something far more powerful, actually turning a failing restaurant around. Lido di Manhattan was an upscale Italian restaurant in Manhattan Beach owned by an inexperienced young operator named Lisa. On paper, the concept was solid, fine dining Italian in an affluent coastal community, but in practice, the restaurant was a huge flop. The food was overpriced relative to its quality. Dishes varied wildly from one night to the next, creating an experience that guests couldn't rely on. The kitchen itself was filthy, not just untidy, but genuinely unsanitary in ways that violated basic health standards.
When was the last time this place was cleaned?
They should be cleaning every day.
But look, just everywhere.
Disgusting.
When Lisa was confronted, she was defensive and dismissive rather than curious and accountable.
I don't think it really has affected or gone in the food. We have customers to serve right now, and people
Okay,
need
do
to
me a
make happy
favor.
right now.
You serve those customers right now. I'm out of here.
When Ramsey realized that Lisa was willing to change, he began implementing drastic changes in the restaurant, beginning with the most outdated equipment in the establishment. He also changed the decorations of the restaurant, turning it into a magnificent place.
Your restaurant has gone. Now, the whole thing just feels open. Easier to get round.
Whoa, look!
What happened after Ramsey left separated Lido di Manhattan from nearly every other Season 3 restaurant. Lisa actually listened and acted on what she heard. She implemented Ramsey's recommendations, addressed the sanitation issue in the kitchen, worked with her staff to improve food consistency, and more importantly, she let go of staff that was dragging her business backwards. When Ramsey returned for a Season 4 revisited episode, he found a restaurant that had genuinely transformed. The kitchen was clean.
All right, let's hope we did good.
Spotless.
Yay!
Absolutely spotless. Well done.
The food was excellent.
Mushroom, spinach, ricotta cheese, mozzarella.
That's delicious.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
The restaurant had undergone sustained real change that wasn't just for the cameras. Fans couldn't hold back their excitement about her success, with one saying, "I love how proud he is of Lisa. One of my favorite episodes." More than a decade later, Lido di Manhattan remains open and continues to thrive. As of 2023 through 2026, the restaurant maintains a 4 to 4.5 star rating on Yelp, Google, and TripAdvisor. The restaurant has expanded beyond its core dine-in service to include catering and private dining services, creating additional revenue streams and building resilience into the business model. Lido di Manhattan represents what the Kitchen Nightmares formula is supposed to produce: an owner willing to be accountable, staff willing to execute at a higher level, and professional guidance that actually yields results. Lido di Manhattan succeeded because its owner chose to evolve. The next restaurant would show that not all owners are willing to quickly take accountability. Le Bistro was a French bistro in Lighthouse Point with an elegant concept that was being sabotaged from within. It was owned by a British chef named Andy Truesdale. The kitchen was run by a chef who was monumentally arrogant and openly hostile to both his staff and customers.
You don't like it? That's fine. It's your opinion. You don't like it. We're fucked. We're no good. I'm lousy. Whatever.
Fuck me, do you have issues?
The food was overpriced for what it was: fine dining pretension without the execution to back it up.
So that's okay. They obviously just played a little smoke.
Every fucking table that's come back, all you want to do is argue with them. Look at the potatoes, they're black. So fucking sad.
Local customers, the lifeblood of any neighborhood restaurant, had been systematically alienated by the toxic atmosphere. People weren't coming back because dining at Le Bistro felt more like an ordeal than a pleasure. Ramsey's diagnosis was unfiltered and straightforward.
You're looking for a justification every time you fuck up. A man that can't even accept his own mistakes.
He worked to streamline operations, remove unnecessary complexities from the menu, and address the interpersonal dynamics poisoning the restaurant's culture.
Their wife at the front, the chef at the helm, and a neighborhood, family-run business. It's a dream come true for any chef.
It wasn't given to me on a fucking plate.
So don't throw it away.
His intervention was about creating an environment where people wanted to work and where customers wanted to spend their money. When Ramsey visited Le Bistro during the Season 4 Revisited episode, he found a restaurant that completely exceeded his expectations.
And Ellen looks so happy, but more importantly, the food is stunning. Le Bistro is finally on its way to become a huge success.
The changes had held, but more importantly, they had created momentum that continued to build long after Ramsey left. Le Bistro is widely regarded as one of the true success stories in the entire Kitchen Nightmares franchise. The restaurant flourished well beyond imagination. As of 2026, Le Bistro remains open and thriving with a 4-star Yelp rating based on 179 or more reviews. This is consistent excellence that has been reflected in customer feedback over the years. The restaurant has built a signature dish that has become legendary in Lighthouse Point, Beef Wellington. Customers return particularly for this meal, making it closely associated with Le Bistro's identity. Although Le Bistro proved that lasting success was possible, Casaroma would demonstrate that early progress and positive signs don't guarantee survival when deeper structural problems still exist. Casaroma was an Italian bar and restaurant combination in Lancaster, California, owned by Nyla and her son Jeremy, neither of whom had any prior experience in the restaurant industry. The lack of foundational knowledge was evident in every aspect of their operation. The kitchen was run by a chef who was lazy and actively hostile towards his work.
Yeah, and I fuck up stuff. Yeah, I fuck up. So I try and reload and redo it.
There's nothing edible. Why are you walking away, Eric?
So I don't fucking rip your head off.
The kitchen itself presented clear health and safety concerns.
Roast beef. Dating back when? Again, no sign of what it is. Fresh Parma ham is caked in mold. Whoa, fucking hell.
This imbalance and many more suggested that the owners misunderstood their business model. They're trying to run a restaurant when they actually had a bar that served food. Ramsey brought structure and accountability to the entire restaurant, firstly by making its appearance more welcoming, and then attempted to balance the business towards what it actually did well rather than what the owners thought it should do.
To celebrate its 50th year with a comeback, we are going to hold the first annual Casaroma Pizza Eating Challenge.
Yeah, thank you.
The immediate post-episode period showed real promise. In a Season 3 Revisited episode, Ramsey returned to find significant changes that blew his mind.
The difference is night and day, but honestly, the biggest change is in Nyla because she clearly isn't scared of making decisions, and let's be honest, it's clearly working. Good on her.
Nyla had bought her son out, taking full ownership and control of the business.
I love my son to death. You know, I love all my kids, but we just couldn't work together.
A new head chef, Chef Q, who had also appeared on an episode of Kitchen Nightmares, had been hired to replace the lazy, hostile original chef. Business was up 33% at the time of the revisit. Casaroma even received a certificate from the local Chamber of Commerce, validating improvements and giving the restaurant official recognition for its turnaround. For a moment, it seemed like Casaroma might become an early success story, but early success and sustained success are two different things. Despite the promising revisit and the 33% increase in business, Casaroma closed down around 2015 and transformed into a CR Roadhouse bar and grill before permanently shutting down on July 1st, 2017, when Nyla announced the closure on Facebook. The restaurant battled with low profit, high staff turnover, poor food quality, bad reviews, and numerous rebrandings, and ultimately failed after the owner discarded the new menu. Casaroma represents the frustrating middle ground of Season 3, genuine improvement that couldn't overcome deeper challenges. These structural improvements Ramsey introduced were real and measurable, but they weren't sufficient to sustain the business long-term. However, the unintended downfall of Casaroma was simple compared to the next restaurant's collapse, a far more complex ruin that was entirely by design. Mamarita's was a Mexican restaurant in Newbury Park, California, owned by Laura, who brought her catering experience to the business but had never managed a dine-in restaurant. Laura had built her reputation and her confidence in the structured world of catering, and that confidence blinded her to how poorly that background translated to restaurant operations.
You've been serving that crap. Why don't you do it properly?
Because everybody loved my catering.
It's completely two different monsters. It's not going to work.
The kitchen took huge shortcuts that compromised food quality.
Frozen.
Wow. When was all this made?
2 months.
Oh my God. Can you get me Laura, please? This is unbelievable. Look at that.
This is what we did for catering.
You must have hundreds of portions of stock here, then defrosted. It's just absolutely appalling. This is not a restaurant. You are mad.
The staff was entirely clueless when it came to making fresh food and had no framework for transitioning to prepping fresh ingredients.
Let me think.
What's the matter?
I'm thinking. I'm really nervous because I don't have idea for what I cook.
15 minutes left.
The restaurant was also carrying a shocking debt, a crushing financial burden that had quietly grown from the business itself, making it impossible to invest in necessary improvements.
How much?
1.5.
$1.5 million.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And I have 350 in the hole right now on top of that.
Ramsay worked on modernizing the kitchen approach and training staff in food preparation by giving them a surprise new chef named Neris. He also revised the menu to emphasize quality over frozen convenience. After Ramsay's visit, Laura made a terrible decision. Rather than implementing his recommendations, she reverted to her old ways and retained original chef Perla instead of adopting Ramsay's suggested changes. The restaurant received relatively decent post-episode Yelp reviews, averaging 3.5 stars, suggesting that customers found the food acceptable, at least by some standards. But the burden of an accumulated $2.2 million debt, combined with Laura's resistance to change, created an unsustainable situation. Mamarita's closed in December 2010, approximately 9 months after the episode aired. Laura did not disappear from the food industry entirely. She continued to operate her catering business for several years after the restaurant's closure, returning to the sector where she had genuine expertise and experience. The physical location of Mamarita's has since been occupied by a restaurant called The Local Table, which has received positive reviews from the Newbury community. Mamarita's owner actively rejected Ramsay's advice, but that was a stark contrast with the next restaurant, whose owner had personality issues that no amount of menu revision could fix. Anna Vincenzo's was an Italian restaurant in Boca Raton, Florida, run by Cici, whose defensive and abrasive attitude permeated every aspect of the operation. The restaurant offered a large menu with many options.
Yeah, like that's
1,
just
2, 3. Oh my God. It's that big? How many dishes are on there?
a lot. Then you have the...
Look at it.
But nothing on the menu was executed well because no unified vision or standard was being enforced.
She said the salmon comes in fresh and then they freeze it.
That has to be Florida's worst dish ever.
This one looks like a dog's dinner.
I don't know how well this is gonna work.
The staff was visibly demoralized. They were working with an owner whose communication style was hostile and demoralizing.
When she gets mad, she's aggressive and angry. Here's your tell everybody to fucking go home. I'm shutting the place down.
Customers were put off not only by the inconsistent, mediocre food, but also by Cici's aggressive personality. Ramsay focused on 2 areas: streamlining the menu to eliminate options that couldn't be executed well, and attempting to address the interpersonal dynamics between Cici and her staff.
I won't yell at him.
Yeah. You have a phenomenal...
He also took the time to make Anna Vincenzo's a more eye-catching and beautiful environment.
We've got lightness. It's contemporary and it's timeless.
Doesn't it bring so much light in here with the windows?
The episode ended on what happened to be a positive note, suggesting that Cici had recognized her role in the restaurant's problem and was willing to change. But the narrative proved deceptive. Anna Vincenzo's closed in April 2010, just 1 month after the episode had aired. Given that the filming took place in July 2009, the restaurant survived for only 9 months after Ramsay's visit. This was the quickest collapse of Season 3. Cici offered a public explanation for the closure. She stated that she sold the restaurant to spend more time with her children and wanted to focus on her weight loss journey. Whether this was the complete truth or a face-saving narrative to explain failure, the restaurant was gone. When Ramsay attempted to revisit, he found the restaurant closed.
Chef Ramsay returns to find out that Anna Vincenzo's has gone out of business.
Damn.
To find out what had gone wrong, Ramsay turned to former server Ashton, and her explanation was a total meltdown.
Did she slip back to her old ways?
Yeah. Right when you left,
No.
she's like, well, the prices are way too cheap. So she made the prices.
No.
Then she also lowered the portion size. She's doubling price and making everything half the size.
I mean, that's stupid.
Anna Vincenzo's location has since been replaced by Aaron's Indian Kitchen. Anna Vincenzo's owner's arrogance was evident from the start, but at Fleming, the owners were simply two-faced hypocrites. Fleming was a Danish restaurant in Miami, Florida, owned by Andy and Suzanne Hall. The restaurant had been operating for several years before Ramsay's arrival, but it had deteriorated into a state of complete decline. The food was bland, old-fashioned, and unappealing, the kind of cuisine that felt disconnected from what contemporary diners wanted. The physical space was actively off-putting. It was an unwelcoming, almost hostile atmosphere rather than the inviting warmth a restaurant should project. Ramsay's intervention involved updating the decor to create a more appealing environment and revising the menu to modernize the offerings and improve execution. He gave Fleming a contemporary identity that matched what diners in Miami actually wanted to experience. In the immediate post-episode period, Fleming maintained Ramsay's changes, but this maintenance of change turned out to be shallow and temporary. As weeks turned to months, Fleming quietly began returning to previous dishes and practices in an attempt to maintain customers' loyalty based on familiarity. This hedging strategy satisfied no one. It was neither the modern restaurant Ramsay had created, nor the Danish establishment it had been before. It was confused, caught between two identities. Fleming closed in October 2010, about 5 months after the episode aired, and roughly 1 year after the actual filming. The owner, Andy Hall, offered his perspective to the media, implying that the relationship hadn't been as collaborative as suggested on television. Andy Hall moved into food service administration after Fleming's closure, working as Associate Director of Resident Dining at Chartwells, a contract food service company. Fleming's location is now being occupied by an Orange Theory fitness gym. Out of all of Season 3's 11 restaurants, only Lido di Manhattan and Bistro survived. Their success was a result of both Ramsay's expertise and the owner's willingness to look inward and admit their failures. The other 9 restaurants closed because their owners couldn't or wouldn't change. They rejected advice, reverted to old habits, or were consumed by personal conflict. In the end, their terrible choices determined the outcome.